Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another Let's Play, this time of Pokemon Gold, well, Heart Gold, on PokeMMO. Now, this is another dime a dozen stream of consciousness thing. It's not like these things haven't been done many times before, but I'm playing this just to provide you a little bit of, I don't know, voice company, I guess. This is going to be off the cuff, like I said, stream of consciousness, where I'm just going to be talking about stuff that's on my mind for the next 7-8 hours of this playthrough. So, I don't know, if you want to hang out, feel free to hang out. So, a couple of things that's going to make this maybe mildly different. You might have noticed that the only Pokemon on my team right now is not a starter Pokemon, but in fact a Fearow. Or a fake Ho-Oh, as I called it. The other thing you might have seen immediately is that I'm not being stopped by anybody or any sort of triggered events going on. That's because I love this game, but it stops and starts quite a bit more than Pokemon Original Gold, Silver, Crystal did. So, anyway, besides just passing these first few events, the rest of this is going to be the game as usual. So, I'm going to talk about the stuff that's going on immediately. However, if I get around to it, I'll also be discussing the Gospel of Gold, the thing that I read last summer at the time of this recording. Because that is also a story about the Johto region. So I guess first things first, stopping at Mr. Pokemon's house here. And, hey buddy, and I'm not going to be reading through all this stuff, but in the original game itself, you get a starter Pokemon from Professor Elm because you're nothing more than a delivery boy. Professor Elm's trusted you to get a Pokemon to come over to this guy named Mr. Pokemon, an alias I'm sure, and get the egg from him and deliver it back to the Pokemon Professor, and that's all the more that happens. Well, things happen a little bit differently than it turns out. Professor Oak happens to be visiting. He sees that you're somebody with potential, you know, the ego stroking that they must do to gamers to make us feel good about ourselves and our power fantasy. And so we get a Pokédex. Mom sees the Pokédex and is like, wow, you should totally take the gym challenge. And, you know, the rest of the game is history, or at least would be. Is he gonna have me stay behind to rest? Nope, it's just stopped me for a second here. Alright, but here we go with the stop and start of the events. Oh no, it's an emergency, get back here right now. So, what's the big emergency, buddy? You couldn't tell me over the phone that one of your other starter Pokemon got stolen? Alright, so about the use of Pokemon on my end. Oop, what's this? Antidote, that's very useful. I am not going to be using any Pokemon except for prize Pokemon. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean the signature Pokemon of gym leaders, and I'm sure other people have done this sort of thing as well, but here's how it's gonna work. In PokeMMO, there is a badge limit, or an obedience level limit. If you look at my card, my max obedience at the bottom of the card is currently level 20. Pokemon who are higher than level 20 will not listen to me. So, for instance, if I were to try to use this level 100 Black Charizard right now, it would not listen to me. It would just immediately knock itself out, even though it listens to me fine in the other regions. So, these are the Pokemon that I'm eventually going to be using. Once I beat Faulkner, it'll be as if his level 24 Pidgeotto, not really, but that's what I'm going to pick it up as, will become mine to use against Bugsy, who, upon beating him, I'll get his Scyther, and then Miltank, and then Gengar, and then so on and so forth. And using these Pokemon, I intend to go through the Johto region. Now there's Cyndaquil, which, you know, when you're not using a starter Pokemon anyway, well, Cyndaquil is just the tradition to pick if you gotta pick one anyway. But I'm gonna be going with this fake Ho-Oh here, because it's exactly at level 20, so it works out pretty nicely. Alright, here comes Silver, the rival. And, I love this rival. Like, if Gary was arrogant and you love to hate him, this guy is constantly putting you down for being a weakling, and for people who turn to the Pokemon game because real life just wasn't working out for them, you love to hate something like that as well. Oh, by the way, because Firo can learn Sunny Day, and I'm trying to make it a fake Ho-Oh, it looks a little bit like Ho-Oh, I guess. I thought it would be funny to teach it Sunny Day. She's even female and everything, just like Spirit from Gospel of Gold. That's what I named this character, Gospel of Gold. I know, it's the hat and stuff. I tried to make it as close as possible to the actual character Gold. Oh no, you saw my name, and in PokeMMO, you don't get to actually name your rival. You used to be able to, and then it changed. I'm not sure why, but whatever. At least they're calling the rival by the proper name. Silver, Gary, etc. Actually, they should have called Gary Blue, but eh. Now, I'm not sure if you can hear the soundtrack in the background, by the way. The last time I did this was a long time ago, and at the time I had Nightcore going, like the whole time, but I get it, it becomes obnoxious after a while, so I have a very quiet soundtrack of Ori and, which one was it? I think it's actually a mixture of both the games, Will of the Wisps and something else, the one that came before it. Oh, yep, rival's name is Silver. I'm keeping it quiet, not only because I don't want the music to distract me too much, but because in case there's a risk of getting copyright stricken. It's beautiful music, but I don't want to have to lose it in this video, so I'm just kind of keeping it quiet. Alright, oh, by the way, there's this change in the original game and this game where it's astonishing that Pokemon lay eggs in the first game, and in this game it's like, well, it's just a regular egg. We already know about Pokemon laying eggs and stuff, so, I don't know, I guess I'll analyze it for a little bit longer, he says. So that's their way of sort of grandfathering it in. Is that the term? Eh, whatever. So I think I need to speak to Mom before I can properly leave. No, I don't want to go back to Kanto. I like that, by the way, they give you an option to leave this particular region in case you're like, oh crap, my Pokemon aren't listening to me anymore. I need to get better ready. Alright, save some money. And nobody liked Mom in this game because she said she'd save your money, and then the first thing she does, like 5 minutes into your journey, is start spending the money you've earned on stuff when she goes shopping. Typical Mom. Anyway, so thank goodness in this game she doesn't force you to, or the game automatically keeps her from spending your money or, you know, having her save your money or anything. So the developers were kind of based in that regard. Alright, so anyway, I can't remember, Lyra, I think that's the name of this discount Chris, or Marina or whatever, but it skips the battle where she teaches you how to do Pokemon battles and stuff, which, again, based developers, we didn't really need to see that stuff. If you've managed to download PokeMMO, then they assume that you know what you're doing in the Pokemon games at this point. You are capable enough of getting yourself a ROM, legally of course, and, you know, getting all the necessary stuff together. So I haven't done any actual fighting yet, because the game is going to be slow enough as is. We're already like almost 9 minutes into the recording here, and I have yet to get to the next proper town. Like, Cherry Grove doesn't really count. So, I'm just trying to rush things. I could use one of my repels now, but not yet. Alright, there was something else I was trying to think of. What was it? I can't remember right now. Anyway, so this, by the way, would be the proper place. We'll get to fighting in just a little bit here. Bunch of trainers who you're forced to battle. I'm going to use more repels a little bit later on, so for right now I'm just kind of giving a little look at the sorts of various Pokemon in these grasslands. And I'm not going to be picking up every single item off the ground either. This is the first place that properly overlaps in this story, like where I can really begin commenting on the Gospel of Gold itself, because in that story, I changed it, well, it was changed so that Gold was no longer born in New Barktown, but in Ekritik City. And in that particular iteration, he didn't have a mom, but rather a single dad instead. And so New Barktown was the only place that actually didn't get visited, and here we've gone ahead and visited it twice, but we're going to go there maybe 1 or 2 more times total before the game's over. But Gold, by the time they even get to Cherry Grove, whenever he qualifies for getting his first Pokemon, and then he has the dream of Silver the Lugia warns him that if you take your starter Pokemon and you go on your Pokemon journey, your starter Pokemon's gonna die. I've foreseen it. It's gonna happen in the future. And by the way, right now I'm speaking as though you've listened to the whole of Gospel of Gold. If you haven't done so, I highly recommend it. Not to toot my own horn, but when I wrote that story, I was under the inspiration, I believe under the inspiration of God the Holy Spirit, and I can't properly claim credit for having written it. Like, I used to laugh at the Grecian muses, but there is absolutely such a thing as inspiration beyond the chemicals that work in one's brain. And so, though I wrote that story, I really just consider myself like the medium through which the actual writer wrote. So, I can hardly claim credit. Anyway, I'm just gonna sneak by this guy. I can't actually remember if he's a proper trainer or if he's one of those guys that says, I'm not a trainer, but if you make eye contact, you have to fight. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Get ready for that to happen a lot. So Gold has his dream, and at first he sees Ho-Oh, or Spirit, who's been kind of a protective force for him. These are all going to be spoilers if you haven't listened to Gospel of Gold. But she's a protective force because he was actually a stillborn baby, and due to the prayer of his father, she was able to rescue him from stillbirth, though his mother still died in labor earlier, so his mother couldn't be rescued. I know, it's kind of morbid, but it moves on to like this greater idea that there's something that's going to be going on 13 years later. And so she's going to be preparing him for that significant event. So because Ho-Oh is like the good guy in that particular story, and Lugia is like the most malicious evil force, they're polar opposites of each other. And so while she wants him to go on this journey, Lugia, Silver's like, nah, I'm gonna try to give you a dream that's going to keep you away from it. So Gold has his dream, and in Cherry Grove, he leaves his Pokemon journey in order to just hop on the first ship home. A lot of biblical allegories in that story. I was going for the story of Jonah and the whale. Well, the Bible actually calls it a big fish, so it's possible Jonah got swallowed whole by like a whale shark or something. Anyway, so I kind of used that. I stole a few stories from the Bible and sort of twisted them for the Pokemon world to sort of fit. But Gold doesn't want his starter Pokemon to die. Like, against his better judgment, or what should be better judgment, he listens to Silver instead of Spirit, and he tries to get home. Gets on the first ship bound for the next city available, and being the kind of the lord of water and winds and stuff, Lugia, Silver, is able to mess with the ship to the point that it's about to sink, just as in Jonah and the Whale. And so Gold gives himself up to be drowned so that the sailors who are innocent in this, they can get away. By the way, I'm being distracted here, and I forgot that I only have so many aerial aces, so hopefully I'll be okay getting through all this stuff. I mean, I guess I could always just do fly. It takes a little bit more time, but Anyway, let's see, where was I? Okay, so he gets tipped into the ocean because Silver wants him to die, because he hates anything and everything about Spirit, the Ho-Oh. Now, why is this? Because it turns out, and whenever she rescues him, and just as she's done many times before, Spirit rescues Gold without him even properly knowing until then. But she tells him that there was this incident a long time ago, before his birth, where Silver's mother got captured by an evil team. Well, he was captured that one time in the anime, that there was an actual Lugia baby named Silver, and Team Rocket captures him, and I think they try to capture his mother as well, but they definitely capture him. Boy, it's been so long since I listened to that. And so he gets sort of traumatized by humanity as a little Lugia, but through time, he sort of thinks he can get better so long as he's got his mother with him. But then what was that 2005 game? It wasn't very good. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, that's what it was. Team Cypher manages to capture a Lugia and turn it into a shadow Pokemon. Not a very inspired game, but I did find the concept interesting enough to sort of incorporate it into Gospel of Gold. Anyway, so that I just made into Silver's mother. And so Silver just becomes utterly traumatized at that point. His mother's basically just some dark clockwork machine of a former gentle and benevolent creature. And so it just completely broke his brain at that point. And so that was when Spirit, the Ho-Oh, attempted to come in and be a sort of foster mother for him. But if you've ever watched the Pokemon Johto Journey's first opening, it started out with Ho-Oh and Lugia kind of having a mid-air battle. And it was so often implied that those two species, they didn't get along. They fought with each other all the time. I guess because the Phoenix is known as a life giver, whereas I don't know if the Lugia species was inspired by a swan. Like, honestly, if Ho-Oh wasn't a Phoenix, Ho-Oh would probably be a swan too, but whatever. The two of them just don't get along with each other. One's about life and upbringing, and the other's about destruction. Even destruction that they may not necessarily mean. So it's just a matter of yin and yang. I don't know if they're even balanced or if they're just constantly pushing against each other. But the point is, they dislike each other. Or maybe they'll tolerate each other, but they can't get along. It's just bad chemistry all around. So, because of that, Silver, who's now sort of in his, Lugia teenage years, he decides, screw you, foster parent, Ho-Oh, I'm gonna do what I want. And so Spirit tries to bring him up properly to be a force for good in the world, a very strong force for good in the world, but fails at it. And the thing is, I sort of made her out to be the flesh incarnation of God the Holy Spirit. Like if God incarnate was Jesus, God the Son, Spirit was essentially, not so creatively, God the Holy Spirit. The sort of subtle guidance that stays with you whenever you accept Christ as your Lord and Savior. So, I sort of based her character around that, but there are going to be people who reject that sort of conscience, and in this case, it was Silver, and so rejecting that proper guiding force just turned him worse and worse. He just decided, I have got this grudge against humanity. First they capture me in my youth, and then they capture my mom and turn her into this, dark entity that's totally devoid of what she once was, and humanity is just utterly evil, and I've had it. I'm gonna have my revenge against these jerks. And so, when he wises up to the fact that Spirit has now chosen Gold to be her envoy to humanity, like, she can't actually speak to many humans because, let's face it, Pokemon trainers, we see a rare legendary Pokemon, the first thing we try to do is capture it. maybe not all people. Some people respect her enough to be like, nope, some Pokemon are sacred, and this one is not to be confined into a Pokeball and used for petty sports. But in this world, it's like, though the people of Ekritik worship her, she keeps herself apart from humanity because humanity cannot properly... Her presence would not work with most of them. It's the same reason why God had prophets in the Bible. Because... was it Mount Moriah? There's this story about the reason God has prophets is because he initially spoke... I'm just going to shortcut it out of here. Use the escape rope. There we go. He initially spoke with the Hebrew Jews at Mount Moriah, and his voice was like thunder, and there were flashes of lightning, and because he was the creator of the universe, the people were just shaken and terrified. And they're like, Moses, the guy who was leading them, go and speak to God, and you do it, and we'll listen to what you say that God tells you, but we can't take this. If we hear it, we're gonna die. Like, it was like shaking them down to the foundation of their souls, which is rather appropriate for the creator of the universe, being all-powerful. And so, Moses essentially becomes a prophet to the people that way. I'm gonna skip these battles. You're not missing anything. It's just more of the same low-level bird-type Pokemon, but let's go ahead and fight Faulkner. Anyway, so in Gospel of Gold, Gold essentially becomes somewhat of a minor prophet, and Spirit is like God the Holy Spirit, who knows that the region is moving towards corruption in some way. And how did it come to this? Well, Gold doesn't know what's going on at all. Like, to him, all this stuff is like, I'm not supposed to have a Pokemon, and I'm going on a Pokemon journey. I deliberately left behind my starter Pokemon so that it wouldn't get killed. But the only reason he went on this Pokemon journey in the first place, I'm getting all this stuff way out of line here because I'm just kind of starting from having left Cherry Grove City. I really should have brought up the other stuff first. His dad wanted him to become a Pokemon trainer because it looks good on a resume. Like, you go around defeating gym leaders and sort of, I don't know, keeping yourself strong in the wilderness, fending for yourself with nothing but your Pokemon to help you. It's like joining Boy Scouts or even graduating the Eagle Scouts. It's a mark of distinction. Like maybe you're from the volunteer fire department or you're sort of a ranger or something. The point is, anybody who becomes a proper league Pokemon trainer is going to be... Oh, hang on, get an event. Blah, blah, blah. We want the egg. Yeah, okay. They're going to be more respected in society. And so to bring honor to the family name, the dad wanted Gold to try out for the Pokemon journey. And it took a couple of years, but eventually, 11 years old, nope, they didn't accept his application. 12 years old, didn't accept his application. And then just before age 13, they finally accepted his application. He was able to prove himself through like written tests and stuff to be somebody capable of being a proper Pokemon trainer. Okay, now before I go on, taking a look at what's going on the screen right now, they decided to make the Kimono Girls a lot more prominent in the sort of redo of this game. And with me, I mixed it up both ways. I took a little of the old and a little of the new. I didn't really include the Kimono Girls in the Gospel of Gold, but I did have the Wise Trio make their not debut, but they had their time on screen. So, no Kimono Girls, and I think there was a couple of other things that I didn't do that maybe some people missed, but oh well. Anyway, let's go ahead and add Pidgeotto to the party. This is a very unbalanced party. Now I've got 2 flying types, and it's going to be a problem when I run into some rock-type Pokemon or steel types, but I think that I should be okay until the end of the second gym. I'll have advantage in the second gym for sure. Alright, and I'm not really going to do anything with these Epicorns, but I don't know, past the tree, might as well pick something up from it. Alright, so now that I've beat Faulkner, Gold, upon hearing the story of how Silver is a force for evil in the world now because he wants vengeance on humanity, in some way he's using his immense psychic influence to make humanity's temptation to be bad, like, we're born with sin nature, and so we're constantly just drawn towards doing bad things. Like, little toddlers, you have to teach them to have manners and do good things, but you don't have to teach them how to scream and put up tantrums and stuff. So, we don't have to learn how to do bad, but we only learn how to do good because the bad nature is just with us from the start. And that compunction to do bad, Silver just presses on that with his psychic influence. He's able to amplify it, make it worse in people. And now people still have self-control. We have choice over what we do, just as from the very beginning, God, knowing that love cannot be compelled and ultimately wanting a relationship with humanity, gave us the power to choose whether to accept him or reject him. And so, Silver cannot take away that power of choice, just as Satan can't. Silver is sort of a discount Satan, essentially. Satan is called the Prince and Power of the Air, and it seemed appropriate. Like, Lugia also have mastery of storms and stuff. But anyway, he cannot take away humanity's choice, but he can, like, amplify the people's ability or desire to do wrong, to do sin. And so the people who would hearken to him in the Johto region, he's been making them worse and worse to hasten their end. Okay, I think 2 twisters should do it. And so, to kind of counteract him, Spirit, Ho-Oh the Phoenix, has chosen Gold to go around and do stuff. And she's really vague in the beginning, like Gold doesn't know what she's talking about. Besides going on a Pokemon journey without any Pokemon, which sounds weird enough, she says, visit these places and plant seeds in people's hearts. Oh, that guy didn't stop me. I thought he was going to try to sell me a Slowpoke tail. And so Gold runs into 3 campers who, they're having a really hard time with their Pokemon journey. Apparently, recently, the Pokemon League has made decisions that spiked the difficulty. You know, by the way, I was just going to comment on stuff that was going on the screen, but now that I'm getting into, like, all the stuff that happens in the Gospel of Gold, some of you who've listened to it already may have noticed that I didn't do a recap of the story as I tend to do with most books, like afterwards. And the last time I did this, I felt really self-indulgent when I read Corrupt Authority. Looking back on that work, I'm not terribly proud of it. But, you know, it's like, if this really is not my story, but I was inspired by God the Holy Spirit to write it, then I don't really have a right to comment on it afterwards. I mean, what is there really left to say? But I don't know. Thinking back, I might have cheated you guys out of something if you were at all interested in hearing it. I don't know if any of you guys ever listened to the afterwards anyway. It's just, you know, my opinion, and, you know, opinions are like, as they say, bumholes. I'm gonna use repel here. Everybody's got an opinion. Anyway, let's see, can I sneak around? Yes, I can sneak around this guy. I really do not want to have to fight any more of these dudes than I have to, so... There, turn your back, okay. Just because I'm at such a type disadvantage. Alright, sneak through the cave, sneak through the cave. I could talk to that guy, but I won't. Nah, no more repels. So now that I've left Violet City way behind, Gold sees that these campers are having a problem with the difficulty spike, and it's because the Pokemon League has had problems with their customer base. Like, let's face it, Pokemon is a animal, not sort of like a cockfighting, dogfighting sort of thing. Well, I guess it sort of is. Like, Pokemon fight each other until they fall unconscious from the pain, so, I mean, obviously, it's on the verge of animal abuse in a way, even if they are just pixels on a screen. Like, we tolerate it because it's just become so addictive and interesting at this point. And obviously, I myself, having loved Pokemon for so many years at this point, you know, I'm into it. I do enjoy the combat aspect. I wouldn't call it chess or anything like that. Rock, paper, scissors, whatever. There's enough strategic element involved that I really do appreciate it. Anyway, I'm digressing too much. The point is that people, they see this violence and they crave this violence between Pokemon, and it starts to get worse and worse in us, as, again, Silver has tried to do from the beginning. It's like, you want that violence? I'll just keep tapping it into it more and more on you people. And so, at first it was just Pokemon fighting, and then we started giving them held items to make their moves stronger and cause more damage, and then we figured out, Mega Evolution, and then all these other things that we did to make our Pokemon even more dangerous towards each other. And so, it was just that the Pokemon audience was getting more and more bloodthirsty, that the brain trust of the Pokemon League is like, well, what do we do? And so they decided, well, let's just make the Johto League gym battles a lot more brutal. No more holding back ever again. Again, all this time, Silver's influence is going on in the background. He's urging these people to cause more violence to Pokemon. And, you know, he's a Pokemon. Shouldn't he be on the Pokemon side? But revenge is just all-consuming. You know, so what if a few Pokemon get hurt in the process? They're already getting hurt. And if it brings the end to the people and the Pokemon and the Johto region quicker, then so be it. You know, if the Pokemon League just implodes upon itself, then whatever, he's still won. So, and I think there's a term in real life as far as bringing down civilization quicker, like hastening our end. And I can't think of what it's called right now, but there's a term for that. Societies rise and societies fall, and there are people who can bring the end quicker, knowing that it's inevitably going to come sooner or later anyway. So Silver's all about that, because, damn it, he wants his revenge. And so how's Gold supposed to stop this? Well, the first thing is understanding the situation on the ground in the first place. So when he runs into the three campers, whose names I took from Goldenrod City, that's where their group is from, in the universe I made, and I think other people have done this too, there are representatives from every city, every major city, who all get their own starter Pokemon, and then that way, at the end of the year, or the end of the summer, they partake in the Pokemon League tournament. And some people can go to Pokemon Academy in order to participate, and other people have to go around earning the badges. And I don't know if anybody can do it, or if you have to be a qualified Pokédex-holding League trainer, but whatever, in this story, it's being a League trainer. And so the League trainers, they have a horrible difficulty spike this time around. And they're like, why is everything so brutal? It didn't used to be this hard. And so while they're having a hard time, they take it out on Gold initially, and even though they treat him badly, like one treats him really badly, one doesn't lift a finger to help him when the one treats him badly, and the one sort of He tries to be nice to Gold, but he's just overridden by the angry guy. But even though between the three of them, Gold didn't really like them, he decides in the end he's going to help them because he feels sympathy for them. And that is Spirit, Ho-Oh's love for humanity sort of working through him. It's like, in spite of these people acting badly, God still loves us. And, you know, he wants to redeem our relationship. And so Gold, despite being mistreated, does decide that he wants to help the three. And later on, whenever Faulkner defeats them in a no-holds-barred gym match, and their starter Pokemon get very badly mangled, Gold decides that he's going to do a lay on hands to help them. Now, he doesn't decide this. Spirit, the Phoenix, tells him to put your hands on, and he does so, not knowing what's going to happen. And then, by a miracle, through his hands, there is this supernatural healing power. I'm going to replace Mirror Move. I never use Mirror Move. This supernatural healing power that Gold is just sort of the conduit for. He has no part in it except to just lay on hands, and then the power happens. This is something that happens in the Bible as well. Jesus, being the Son of God, has the ability to heal people and make them well, lays on hands, and the fever leaves them, demons leave them. He's able to do all these things. Now, Gold can't walk on water, or turn water into wine, or do any other that sort of stuff with water, but he is able to do that paladin lay on hands thing from D&D. So, the people are all impressed when he does it, the campers, and they're like, whoa, what the heck, how'd you do that? And Gold tells of Spirit, the Phoenix, essentially just the Pokemon version of speaking of God the Holy Spirit not being content to leave us to our sin, but to try to reach out and show us a better way. And so the people who actually care about their Pokemon and just don't just see them as tools of war, God will have sympathy. And if we're willing to make Pokemon our friends and not push them to the point that they're like 1 inch away from death, but we're willing to just make the sport as it used to be, just a competition to see who is strongest. Pokemon have always had this sort of natural desire to battle each other, to test their strength. So that good thing of pushing ourselves to what we know our potential could be, or God knows our potential could be, Satan can twist anything to evil. So there's a difference between pushing towards our potential versus going to the point that we're destroying ourselves, breaking ourselves, attempting to be the best and doing anything to win. And that's demonstrated in the rival in this game, Silver. He's the sort of trainer who will do anything it takes to win, and his Pokemon dislike him because he pushes them so hard and has no sympathy for them. So I kind of wrote this book in the first place because... am I doing it the right way? No, I'm not doing it the right way. Crap, I was supposed to take the one on the left. Dang it. Oh, well, it's not that I have any sort of danger of losing here. I've got a major type advantage. So, Gold, discovering this new lay on hands power, he's like, wow, what do I do with this? This is amazing. And Spirit then tells him, look, don't just do the laying on of hands. Tell people about me. Tell them that this humanity taking the Pokemon League tournament too far and making it like an actual deathmatch coliseum, because there are now Pokemon who are dying in these battles or being horribly maimed. This sort of stuff can't go on. And so Gold, who is pretty much in complete agreement, says, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to continue this journey in laying on of hands and spreading this message of going back to the old ways, the better ways, when Pokemon wasn't so brutal. And some people listen to him and some people don't, just as in the actual story of the gospel. Jesus would go around telling people the good news that, yeah, you guys are sinners and you are separated from God, who is all good and perfect, and a perfect God cannot mingle with imperfect humanity, but let me take your sins upon myself and you will have forgiveness. Go your way and sin no more. So, not the exact same gospel message, but the gospel according to Pokemon Gold. That's where the title The Gospel of Gold initially came from. So Gold still doesn't have the full picture, but at this point he has enough to go on. And while he and the 3 campers he's now become friends with are sort of eating lunch, watching their Pokemon sort of frolic and stuff, his old friends, or I guess they're not his friends just yet, but his other 2 teammates, his companions from Ecruteak, Jinichi and Marina. They were originally with him in the van as they were heading towards Elm's lab to receive their starter Pokemon. They finally caught up on his journey. Like, he went ahead in the journey whenever he initially tried to get away, and they didn't see him again after he'd left the van. And so they're like, okay, whatever, let's pick up our starter Pokemon, and then if we see Gold again, we'll ask him what the heck happened. But, we're worried. This guy just disappeared before he was even to Elm's lab to receive his starter. What the heck, dude? And when he sees them again, like, he's happy to see him again, but he's also confused because here's where the actual guy named Silver, like the redheaded guy, comes into the story. And he doesn't get a very big role in the story. Kamen, Silver, the redheaded guy, whatever, Giovanni's son. It turns out that the Pokemon League, to keep this well-oiled machine running, if a trainer fails to pick up or in any way get their starter Pokemon, hang on a second, I'm just gotta concentrate on this little lever puzzle. I think this is right. Yep, that's right. They will have a backup trainer. So the redheaded guy, Kamen, though he failed to place as well as Gold in receiving a starter Pokemon, when Gold failed to show up for his starter Pokemon, Kamen's like, okay, I'm next in line. I will take the Cyndaquil that was supposed to go to Gold. So Silver, in a way, sort of tricked Gold. Because these Pokemon actually do, in the actual game, have future sight, the move. They're both able to see into the future, Ho-Oh and Lugia. And so Lugia used his future sight to show Gold a vision of what would happen if he continued his journey. What he didn't mention was that if Gold had just gone and picked up Cyndaquil, then things would have turned out differently than they did. What actually happened was Gold tried to flee his journey and then decided to pick it up again whenever Spirit brought him back in. But as a consequence of him not listening to Spirit in the first place, Kamen got Cyndaquil. And so he fought Cyndaquil mercilessly against Faulkner, and Faulkner fought mercilessly right back, and so he had his Pidgeotto take Cyndaquil and lift it way up high into the air and drop it from an impossible-to-live height. What is that called? Terminal velocity? Whatever. He dropped it from such a height that it immediately died upon impacting on the ground. Like, the Gospel of Gold is... It's not for little kids. It's more mature than the TV show for sure. It's like teen and above. So, in a way, Silver's vision, or Kamen's Silver's vision comes true, and because of Kamen, and partly because of Gold, Cyndaquil dies. And so Gold, sort of having this guilt for being complicit in this, at least partially involved, he decides that he's going to try to make amends as best he could. So he goes on from Violet City to, well, where we are now, to continue, well, whatever gospel he eventually has to tell, though he still only knows part of the story. So, by the way, at that point in the writing, I was asking myself, wait a second, so Gold has the ability to lay on hands and restore Pokemon better than a Pokemon Center ever could, and he is able to use this to raise Pokemon back to life. Like, it happens later on in the story, so why not raise Cyndaquil, who's dead? And he reasons it's because Cyndaquil had such a traumatic experience that raising him back to life after being killed, that's too much for him. He was just so young, and though he died before his time, it would be a terrible thing to just bring him back after that was such an early thing that happened, impacted his mind. Like, you know, remember, Silver was very young whenever he got kidnapped by Team Rocket, and kidnapping's nowhere near as bad as being killed after being dropped from an incredible height. And, you know, starter Pokemon are what? Basically children as far as Pokemon age goes? So, You know, it was really traumatic and terrible, and Gold just couldn't put Cyndaquil through that sort of stuff again. By the way, let's see. Let's let Scyther go out front for a little bit. Now that I've beaten Bugsy, I can put Scyther out and let Scyther have a little bit of time in the sun. By the way, you might have noticed max obedience level. When you beat Faulkner, it's 24 that they'll obey you at, which is exactly what Pidgeotto was, level 24. And max obedience is level 29 now, and Scyther is almost at that level now. So, knowing in advance what the max obedience level was, and to make this as short and painless as possible, well, I wouldn't say painless, but whatever, I'm moving things right along here. So, I just made the Pokemon as high level as possible, because in this game, you're really supposed to sort of juggle the regions. One of the best ways to play PokeMMO is to start in one region, but then afterwards take the ship after like 4 badges to a different region, and then juggle your Pokemon between the regions. And if you know what you're doing, you can actually do it for 3 regions at a time. Doing all the regions at once, don't recommend that. Alright, I gotta find another Farfetch'd. I always kind of mess this part up, so I'm already distracted as is. Beg your pardon if I end up not getting it right a couple of times. Alright, so Spirit doesn't hold it against Gold that he allowed his Pokemon to die or didn't bring it back to life or anything like that. Let's see, how do I want to do this? If I have him face... Crap. I'm sorry, I'm way distracted at the moment. Oh, I know what to do, obviously. Why didn't I think of that sooner? Alright, easy does it. Gotcha. I'm sorry that I'm losing track of my thoughts. Whatever. So, Spirit tells Gold to keep going, and so Gold moves into the Union Cave, where I have Silver kind of attack him again, Lugia Silver, and Lugia's corrupted a Steelix at that point. And I wanted to have something that people may not have necessarily expected. You know how you can run into Onix in that cave, and the first time anybody ever ran into an Onix, they're like, whoa, an Onix. Get rid of agility. I'm never going to have Scyther use agility. Scyther's already really fast. So this time I made it a full-blown Steelix. And so it is truly worthy of being like a proper cave dragon, a menace in the cave. And it's sort of reflective of the corrupting power that Silver now has, not just over people, but Pokemon as well. Whoop. Was that a leaf stone down there? I think I skipped it. I'll grab it when I come back down. So, because Silver doesn't actually have the power to kill Gold, he's tried several times in the past, but Spirit's always had this sort of protective, this hedge of protection around Gold that keeps him safe. Silver doesn't have authority on high to actually kill, just as Satan, who hates humanity because humanity was made in the image of God and he hates God. Satan does not have unrestrained power to just kill people whenever he wants. Every now and then, for some reason, like why does a good God allow bad things to happen to people? Now and then, people are possessed by devils, demons, and that sort of thing has to be permitted from heaven. I know it's I can't properly answer why God allows these things to happen, bad things to happen, but there are limits to these things. Yoink. Yep, that was a leaf stone. So, Silver possesses the cave Steelix to try to intimidate Gold into surrender, and Gold will not accept surrender. And so, Silver actually can't use Steelix. Oh, sorry, the reason I'm pausing here is because I actually unsummoned a Pokemon, and usually a Pokemon would be following you at this point. You may have noticed that a lot of people have Pokemon following them, and I'm not doing that. I could, but I don't know. They're not really my Pokemon anyway. Repel, use another... You know what? Actually, I take it back. Let's go ahead and have a fake Ho-Oh following us. In the actual Gospel of Gold, Gold is following Ho-Oh, though he doesn't know it necessarily. Or Spirit, the Phoenix. So Gold refuses to give in to his fear and surrender, and then Spirit comes to the rescue, gets exploded, and just like in actual Christianity, the Gospel of Gold is sort of an allegory of Christian living, but just as in the Gospel stories, Spirit does die only to resurrect. And, you know, obviously, she's also a phoenix, so the phoenix is reborn from its ashes anyway. But if there was one region that does a really good job of telling the story of the gospel, albeit in a different way, it is absolutely Johto. How many repel steps? I could still use this repel a little longer. Just wait for this guy to turn. There we go. Sorry, I'm concentrating so I don't get pulled into another Pokemon battle here. I'm skipping all these battles because I can afford to. Again, I leveled my Pokemon deliberately. This is all stuff you've seen before. Like I said, these sorts of streams of consciousness and these Let's Plays are a dime a dozen. So people commenting on things they see on their screen, the stuff that you've seen many times before, I'm sort of making it more about summarizing the Gospel of Gold at this point. And I keep getting behind in the story. Like, as this playthrough goes on, I'm actually getting further and further behind. So, I think there's gonna come a slow part where I'm forced to fight a bunch of trainers, where therefore I'll be able to catch up. I don't know. Jeez, we're almost an hour in here. Okay. So, now that we're completely done with the previous city and forest, and we're moving on to the next part, I will now finally comment on Azalea Town. Bugsy is very hard to take seriously because he's such a diminutive little kid. You wouldn't expect somebody looking like that to be a gym leader. But not only is he a gym leader, but in the story he's actually the mayor of the town. And I had to constantly call him the mayor because Bugsy is not exactly a name one can take seriously as a mayor, usually. No offense to the Bugsies out there. So upon getting through the cave, Gold comes into... Actually, he's just about to head over the top of the cave, finish heading over the mountain since the cave-in destroyed it from the inside, when he sees that Team Rocket is at the entrance, and this is where Team Rocket kind of gets introduced into the story. Like earlier, obviously you saw the Slowpoke Well operation that had been going on for a while, and I made sure to bring it back up in the story itself. Don't ask me why Slowpoke tails are such a big thing. I still don't know why Cubone or Marowak skulls are such a big thing in the Pokemon world. Who is buying Slowpoke tails? Who is buying Marowak skulls? Like, are those essential ingredients in rare candies? That's the only justification I can think of for why anybody would bother with those. Slowpoke tails I could see at least because they're kind of sweet and nutritious and, you know, that's sort of rare candies all over. But, by the way, once I've finished with the next gym, I am going to pause the recording before I start again. Don't want to get over an hour if I can help it. Anyway, the Slowpoke tail operation is such that they really don't want people finding out, though the population of Azalea is sort of finding out anyway. Oh, yes, ride a bicycle. Yes, phone number. If you don't say yes to that phone number, you don't get a bicycle, so I had to concentrate for a second there. So the populace of Azalea kind of sort of know what's going on, but they're sort of turning a blind eye to it. And the older populace really doesn't like that because they know what Team Rocket's about, but the younger populace is willing to just let it go because whatever, it's good for business. Team Rocket is clearing out the cave that got destroyed. Hang on a second, I gotta concentrate on this. Nidorina can only be female, true, yes. Okay, third question. Kurt uses apricots. See, if you're not paying close attention, you'd think, oh, apricorns, and then you mess it up. It's impossible to use a TM on Magikarp. I think it is, yes. Oh, crap. It is possible to use it. Dang it. This is why I had to concentrate, and I still messed up. Okay, so Gold comes in, and he tries to wake everybody up to what Team Rocket's really about, and the older people listen to him, including Kurt, and the younger ones don't. Okay, come on. Oh, dang it, Misclick. I'm sorry for this part. I'm trying to break my brain in two right now, and I can't do that very well. Multitasking. Nidorina can only be female. Yeah. Alright, third question. Apricots. There we go. I just need to not misclick. There we go. Okay. Alright, so this is what eventually triggers Kurt to go into the Slowpoke well. As you know from the game, all you have to do is talk to him, and he'll just sort of all of a sudden run off after telling you about how he doesn't do apricorns right now because Team Rocket's causing mischief and he's about to teach them a lesson in pain. And I wondered for a while, why isn't anybody else doing this? Why is it on Kurt to have to do this? Where are the police? Why aren't they stopping Team Rocket? And so, trying to think of a proper reason, I eventually just came up with, is it the back way? No, I gotta go over the top. That the people are just being complicit, and therefore Kurt decides to take matters into his own hands, because sometimes you just gotta do the right thing when nobody else around you is willing to, after you've tried all the other proper avenues. And getting back to Bugsy, he's sort of a corrupt mayor. Like, he just kind of looks the other way. He was also complicit with the whole no holding back anymore. Just as with Faulkner, he uses his Scyther to cut the limbs off of some of his challengers. It's like, look, you idiots know that you're supposed to use rock-type Pokemon, so if you're not using stuff that, if something can be injured by safety scissors, he reasons, then, well, my Scyther's going to injure those Pokemon. If you're going to use a Jigglypuff against my Scyther because it knows rollout, well, don't come crying to me when your Scyther, bleeds out on the ground, or Jigglypuff bleeds out on the ground. By the way, I'm gonna switch back to fake Ho-Oh here. Skip the animation. Nah, it's not skip the animation. Whatever, eggs hatching. By the way, I'm gonna pause for just a second here so you can have a look at the sort of Togepi that you get. It is level 1, and Pound, Growl, Charm, Tackle. It doesn't have extra sensory anymore. It used to, and that's kind of a bummer. All gift Pokemon are exactly medium, so far as their abilities go. Slightly less than medium, 90 out of 186 total individual values. And, what's its ability? Oh, this one had Hustle. Well, that's too bad. You either want Serene Grace or nothing at all, because Hustle is pretty much useless on Togekiss. Alright. I managed to sneak around most of the trainers, but I don't think I can sneak around these last two right here, so whatever. Let's just do this thing. Alright, so Kurt manages to shut down the Team Rocket operation by himself, but Gold, who just kind of triggered the whole thing and now is just watching with open mouth fascination as Kurt just goes completely Doomslayer on these guys. He realizes that Kurt knocked a rocket down the well. Remember that guy who was standing outside the well guarding it? In the game, he gets so startled that he falls down the well, but in this, Kurt knocks him down in his haste, and it actually kills him because it breaks his back or something. And Gold has a vision of seeing this rocket member in hell. and he realizes this is the same Rocket who took part in attacking him earlier when he just made it out of Union Cave. This guy stood by and did nothing and continues to do evil, and so, whatever, let him burn in hell. But when he sees how awful hell actually is, once again, he has pity, and he obeys sort of the summons of God the Holy Spirit to lay on hands and pull him back out. And this Rocket is incredibly shocked at what he's seen at this point. So Gold tells him, look, you have your life back. Maybe you should start rethinking it now. Oh, dang, that Snubbull has Ice Fang. That's no joke. Aw, man, I almost had you. Yeah, you thought my Ho-Oh was male, huh? I guess it's going to use Attract no matter what. It's just designed to do that in this particular gym. Agility. Nah, I don't need Agility. Cancel, yes. I should be okay against Whitney's Miltank as long as Rollout doesn't get a chance to really kick off. Because if it does kick off, I got nothing but flying types on my team and a level 1 Togepi. Like, this is usually where most trainers, like, they hit a wall against Whitney's Miltank. Now that said, if you're thinking about playing PokeMMO and you're wondering which of the now 5 regions you should start in, because the first 5 of the regions are fully integrated into this game at long last, I would recommend this region, personally. Okay, let's see. I think I can interrupt Rollout if I use Fly on Miltank. Oh, it's gonna go for Stomp. Alright, you know what? Let's go ahead and let it do that. Go ahead, you can keep on stomping Ho-Oh. I actually have to concentrate here. This isn't actually, obviously, the real Ho-Oh. If it was, I'd be like, no, don't kill my Pokemon. Okay, Miltank's down. That actually could have gone a lot worse. I was fully expecting Whitney to heal it just now. And I'm not going to bother letting this one heal. Like, if fake Ho-Oh doesn't take down Clefairy and then Clefairy kills, yep, okay, who cares? Ironic. Fire-type move takes down fake Ho-Oh. Okay. Alright. Boy, I really didn't end up using Pidgeotto very much. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit more time in the sun before I set it aside for good. I mean, I already have the fake Ho-Oh. Why do I need Pidgeotto? You know, Fearow works just fine. At least with Fearow, it's able to level up at a relatively quicker speed than the Pidgeot line. Jeez, dude, I'm really getting distracted here. I think at the beginning of the next video, I'll sort of kick off again with Mayor Bugsy upon seeing Gold, and Gold telling people to kind of lay off their Pokemon journey. I guess I'll finish out the Team Rocket incident. So, Gold brings back the guy from hell, and the Team Rocket guy is very traumatized, but now that he's had another chance at his life, it's sort of up in the air what he chooses to do with it. But Kurt chases the rest of Team Rocket out, and there's Whitney crying. Very professional, Whitney. Oh, I made Whitney cry. Okay, then. So, Gold decides to sort of lay low until this Team Rocket stuff, at least temporarily, blows over. Oh, by the way, my max obedience is now 32, so it'll soon be time to pick up my next Pokemon. Oh, hey, look at that! They updated the game again, so now there is a thing that you can go on, and every time you can teleport and immediately get to the gym leader, and it makes for much quicker gym leader runs. Okay, I'm gonna go to the Pokemon Center. Actually, no. Let's go ahead and get the flower pot from the flower lady, or the water pot from the lady. What is this thing? Oh, squirt bottle. Whatever, I got it. I'm gonna heal my Pokemons, and then we'll pick stuff up in the next episode here. So Gold lays low, and then he sees his two companions again, Jinichi and Marina, whose names, by the way, I just took from the Legend of Thunder Raikou special, that one time that Kenta was given a little bit of screen time. So this is Gold, not Kenta, but it's still those same two guys from that movie being used again here, personalities and everything. Okay, that'll do it for this recording. I'll talk to you guys soon in the next episode. Thanks for watching.